Join us January 5th through the 8th at hi-rez Expo, Smart World Championship. hi-rezexpo.com. That's where you can get your own tickets and make sure you're here in Atlanta for that weekend or whatnot. And join us here for the conclusion of today. We've got a couple more games going on. My name's F. That guy's Aggro. We're going to talk to you about eLevate versus SoaR. SoaR right now, they're sitting on the bottom, but they've got some options.
They've got two sets to play still today, up against eLevate right now, and then Most Wanted later after this one. So they've got some games in hand, but still sitting bottom two, kind of a surprise. I mean, this is a team that has a lot of veteran experience on it, players who have been around for a long time, and so I expect for them to pick it up. I mean, having some roster changes, losing their obviously best player, me, but either, jokes aside, losing a player and then trying to replace them and going right into the split pretty soon is difficult to do. And so I think we'll see SoaR sort of rise up through the ranks as a split goes on.
Yeah, I think Stormy was a good replacement for you, in all honesty. He's doing pretty well, but it's less about how strong he is individually and how does he fit with the group, and that's not something that you can just turn on like a light bulb. You got to really work through it.
No, but Stormy does have everything you want in a mid laner. It's comms, number one. You have to be able to tell your team when you're dying and who you're dying to and to help you, and Stormy has great communication, and as long as he can work on expanding that god pool and make sure that he's hitting his abilities, which is it's really important on mages, more so than any other class. As long as he's hitting his abilities and keeping that communication up, I'm sure SoaR will be fine.
We've seen his god pool expand a little bit. As we head into picks and bans, we'll see what it will do here. SoaR versus eLevate specifically. Keep in mind, next match they have is against Most Wanted, one of the stronger teams around. That'll be tough. Versus eLevate, I mean, I think this is an opportunity for SoaR to really take two games, but eLevate not going to make it easy.
No, not at all. And we saw eLevate come out and have a great game against Eager last time in game one, specifically Truancii on that Vulcan. We'll see if he can, that Hotball game, I mean, that is such a different style, you know what I mean? Well, you're totally changing over how you want to play the mid lane, and so that can be a difficult game-to-game transition. We'll see what kind of god style Truancii wants to go with, but I wouldn't be surprised to see eLevate prioritize that Vulcan pick for him because he really made the difference for them against Eager in game one.
That's his jam. The Vulcan, pop the dual mob on that, tons of damage on the mid lane. Not going to be banned out. Raijin and Nemesis taken away by SoaR, Guan, and Terra, two great control-oriented characters with a lot of sustain. eLevate doesn't want to deal with any of that healing nonsense. So the first pick for SoaR Gaming, going to be Raijin. Nice, easy pick going the way of Stormy.
Interesting. So we saw eLevate actually pass up on Fafnir last set, if I remember correctly. They gave Eager the choice between Terra and Fafnir. Eager chose Terra, and then eLevate never chose Fafnir, never picked him up. So I don't know if he's not in Rippin's god pool or what. Maybe SoaR has done their homework and know that they can prioritize this Raijin because eLevate won't pick up the Fafnir. Freya goes well with Fafnir.
Oh.
Susano, yeah. So this is a god that Jumpahhh really likes, but the glaring thing to me is no Fafnir. I mean, that's the quintessential pick that you left open. So now SoaR has put themselves in a great spot. They get a priority pick without wasting one, basically, because eLevate seems to be unwilling to pick Fafnir.
Especially next to the Freya. The Freya Fafnir lane is one of the more devastating lanes, so surprising to not see that. But like you said, I think it just points to a hole in Rippin Hole's god pool. SoaR going to stretch it even more. They say, hey, we know you're not going to pick the Fafnir. We'll wait it out. We'll see if eLevate ban it here. But Thor for Chapo.
I'll bet you. Look, I've been in SoaR's comms a million times. You know what I mean? It's not that different now. I guarantee that Brochacho says, let him pick Fafnir, give me Ares. That's his game plan in his brain right now.
I believe it.
I mean, you could pick 5 gods, and Brochacho would be like, hey, yo, give me Ares. And Keeg specifically knows that Ares banned away right away. He specifically likes the Ares against Susano. Multiple dashes, shut down by the cripple, and no CC immune ultimate kind of makes him food for Ares, but eLevate recognizing that right away and banning it away.
eLevate will select Vulcan for Truancii. We talked about that earlier, certainly a great pick. And then want to talk about great picks, SoaR. They've got Thor on Chapo, one of his stronger characters. Chronos is going to be played by Despair, one of the stronger characters. And there, 4 Guardian bands in the second round. Ares and Geb on the side of eLevate, and then Fafnir and Athena on the side of SoaR.
But the problem for SoaR is that eLevate has this first pick out of the ban phase, and you've got one top-tier support left, and it's Bacchus. And I would assume that eLevate is going to pick that up here. No, they're going to pick up the tier. All right, I'm just going to stop making predictions during picks and bans because I was completely off this entire time.
I mean, it made sense. A lot of what you were talking about. eLevate seemed to be just doing things kind of backwards, honestly. A lot of what you would expect not really coming out. With that in mind, they still certainly have a strong composition. Freya, Susano, Vulcan tier.
These are 3 comfort gods for eLevate. Keegs on Freya, Jumpahhh on Susano, and then Truancii, we saw what he could do with the Vulcan. The same thing can be said, though, for SoaR. We see Chapo on Thor. We see Despair on Chronos, who put in a ton of work in the first 2 weeks. He was the difference maker for me in the first 2 weeks for SoaR on Chronos. And then Uzzy on Sun Wukong. We saw him get a solo kill with Wukong last week as well. That's definitely a comfort god. And now SoaR's the one with that top-tier support pick. But this speaking of comfort picks, Rippin loves Khepri.
Yeah?
Loves him. He's like the only support in the SCL or SPL, really, that puts any stock into Khepri right now, and they love him. So they're willing to give up the Bacchus. They're willing to give up, Fafnir, Athena, Geb, whatever it takes. They just want to put Rippin on Khepri.
I'm with it. I'm with it. Sometimes it's all about what the individuals can and will play as opposed to what fits the quote-unquote meta. I'm down. I respect it. But you've got to be careful of SoaR's lineup. Like you said, everybody really comfortable on their characters. And this Despair guy on the Chronos, Donis and I were talking about it off camera a little bit in the back room. This guy, the first week he came out, we were like, all right, who is this guy? And then he came out and played. We said, oh, that's who this guy is. He's going to be the Chronos that really carries you in the game. And I expect to see a lot of that today. This Chronos is very, very scary aggro, especially against the Freya. He's going to have a little bit of lane dominance early on, despite the fact that Khepri's on the other side. And you're going to expect to see Despair really start to really look for these individual plays.
He's definitely a character that you can give to Despair that he'll say, okay, just give me the 25 minutes and hop in the backpack because I'm ready to go. But that being said, Keegs is another one of those players that can do that with a character like Freya. And Keegs is going to be really familiar with this matchup because Keegs is a big duel player. He plays a ton of 1v1s, always in Grandmaster in that area of the game. And so this is a very common duel matchup. Freya versus Chronos are 2 top-tier picks in duel. And so this lane, if it's left to just be a solo farm sort of thing, I wouldn't be surprised to see Keeg kind of exploit some of the lesser-known factors of the matchup.
We'll definitely have to keep a hard eye on that long lane. As far as everything else is concerned, no real shenanigans. Everybody heading to where they should be. A little bit of a backwards clear coming out from the guys on eLevate, though. They start blue, and then they go to the speed buff, and then disperse. Nothing really of consequence, but just protecting a potential invade.
Sort of popularized by Rapio and the rival guys on the EU side. We saw them do it a lot at the SCL Summer LAN, and it's just designed to get your jungler a little bit, it's a little bit better for the jungler, a little bit worse for your solo laner, gets them to lane a little bit later, but it makes the rotation for your jungler a lot more natural, and it's designed to get your jungler ahead. So we'll see if Jumpahhh can do anything with that. That being said, though, they did give up those right side fire elementals, so it's going to be Chapo, the one who's a little bit ahead in gold.
Exactly. There's a nice pull out of the Khepri. Chacho going to take some poke, but an even nicer stun coming out of the Chronos. Hits both players and then follows it up with a time rift. So good damage out of Despair already, able to find the big stuns.
I really like the relic choices from both supports here. You see Chacho going for that meditation. That gives them the ability to be a little bit more aggressive in lane. They have that burst heal capability, as well as the mana sustain for a mana-intensive character like a Bacchus. On the other side, we see Rippin go with this shell, and that does so well against Raijin ultimate. If you can pop that as soon as you hear the sound cue for the taiko drums, it really negates a lot of that burst damage that'll be coming through jungle lanes or just down the lane in general.
You're expecting a lot of poke out of somebody like Khepri and the Freya, so going the meditation is certainly a good look for sure. Chapel level 4 wants to start things early in the solo lane. Gonna space himself out pretty well. Berserker's Barrage right on top of the tier. Beautiful wall, gonna cut off the exit, and with no ultimate available, Chapo gets the first blood with the double tap. Excellent play.
Niqued played that so well until he completely messed up and decided to throw that Fearless out there. He's in the defensive stance, he's not in any trouble, backs up correctly. Hold that thought, actually. Chapo wants to transition this 5 into the middle lane, looking at Truancii.
Grabs the stun onto the Vulcan. Purification chases him away. There's the Berserker's Barrage and the Taiko drums. Gonna bring a couple of players in. Uzzy rotates as well. Another stun coming out from the jungler. Truancii able to drop the hammer down. Ultimate ELSoaRchapo. And that'll be a kill going the other way for eLevate.
Miscommunication there. Stormy has to be up in the ultimate before Chapo even lands. Hold that thought. Niqued gonna go in. Nice fearless combo. Dashes past him and then turns, changes stances, and pushes him out of the tower, hand delivering Uzzy on a silver platter to Truancii. But StormyRays has to know that Chapo's up in the air. He's gonna be calling his target. He's gotta be up in the ultimate just waiting. It doesn't matter if he uses the purification, you're gonna have enough damage to finish him off. Instead, Stormy holds the ultimate, leading to Truancii living, leading to Chapo's death.
And that's just, that's a little bit of growing pains coming into here, changing positions. We saw Stormy play a number of positions, solo and Guardian, as well as now mid lane. So adaptation, getting used to it. There, I love the play out of Niqued. That is, I mean, not an easy play. That's a bad decision for 9 out of 10 tier players. But Niqued trusted himself and actually lands the abilities, which is why he's able to come out with that. And then again, I think the difference between the play that right there out of Niqued and the play out of Chapo was the mid laner trust. Truancii just sees Niqued go in, sets up the turret, and hits backfire because he knows that the Fearless is going to shove right in that direction. No guesswork.
Chapo and Brochacho coming behind here, looking to go aggressive. Nice belly flop onto Truancii, going to force out the Khepri ultimate right away, but the focus is still going to be on him. Jumpahhh was kind of up front a little bit, but Brochacho was more worried about zoning out the damage from Truancii, and that's a lot of damage he's zoning out because he's already finished that Doom Orb. He's up 400 gold because of those 2 kills that he got in the middle lane against Stormy, and that's going to be a nice snowball potential, but Brochacho recognizing that and making sure that he's out.
Chapo lands down after using the ultimate, brings himself down, doesn't find an actual stun, however, so it'll just be a little bit of a waste. So we're gonna play aggressive, looking for somebody walking a little bit too far, but eLevate not gonna take the bait, so SoaR will go ahead and play it safe. Actually, they're gonna play it a little bit more aggressive. They're gonna start the Gold Fury. Not a lot of damage, however. Stormy pops the ultimate. 50% on the Gold Fury after it, which is troublesome. There's the Vulcan ultimate. Not gonna kill anybody, and the Gold Fury will be leashed, but Jumpahhh able to kill the support right there. Thunder Crash away is the Raijin. That should be good for him, and Despair comes right on through, hitting Freya with a time rift, but nothing of real consequence.
So the idea there is that we have Wrath available, let's do the Gold Fury, but you just don't have the damage at this point in the game. Raijin, not great at this stage, has the early good lane clear and can fight 1v1 or 2v2, but no objective damage at this point in the game. He doesn't have that online quite yet. Chronos, still no boots available as well. So just really underestimating the amount of, or overestimating the amount of damage they were gonna have, and that causes them to lose Brochacho, kind of the sacrificial lamb for the call.
And, you know, pretty much for nothing, really. Just a free kill going the way of eLevate, and with that, they find themselves almost 1,000 gold up.
You do get the Freya purification, which is an important cooldown to get, but you still don't want to trade away a support.
Yeah, I wouldn't trade a Bacchus
for one active, exactly. But in the idea behind Chapo going up in the air earlier, we saw him land down by those top left mid harpies. If you looked at the purification for Jumpahhh and Truancii, both were still down for about 30 seconds. But now that they're up, this is a great power play for eLevate. They've got the stronger items. They have you're looking at big influencing items, the Doom Orb, that's influencing damage. Yes, Raijin has just completed his Boots of the Magi, but that's not going to be as much burst damage as your 20 stacks on Doom Orb. So this is a time that eLevate should be looking to push their slight lead, and you can really break it open quickly.
And you've got the Freya with the Fatalis finished, and you know we always talk about how it's really 2.5 items where Freya is able to really turn things on. But once you have the Fatalis, she's able to really start to at least have a moment in battle. Before Fatalis, she doesn't really do anything. Unlike some of these hunters that can actually make an impact. Once that first item's finished, however, she can't really bring it all by herself, but she's able to supplement team fights pretty damn well.
Not only has she finished that Fatalis now, but she's up 300 gold on Despair. Despair making some rotations that didn't work out, pulling that Gold Fury while Keegs got an extra wave in the duo lane. You can see him finishing up these boars solo, where Despair had to split those with Brochacho, I believe. So Keegs doing a good job already, like a level and a half up or so. So Despair has to be careful, and all of SoaR has to be careful, because if they let Keegs continue to free farm, he's going to be a problem.
Keegs got to be careful. He's going to go ahead and get surprised here. That's one of his abilities gone, and weird jump by Brachacho, anticipating the retreat a little bit sooner, expecting the ultimate to come out from the Freya and not going to pull the trigger. Love that discipline coming out from Keegs. Half HP thanks to the poke, but that's all SoaR will be able to do is just poke him down.
Bacchus is a top tier support because of Belly Flop and Intoxicate. Those are the two abilities that really define Bacchus, especially in the early game, that Belly Flop into Intoxicate combo. And once you lose one of those combo pieces, that's all of your kill potential gone in the duo lane. Brachacho tried to make it a little bit harder on himself than I think he needed to. Just could have been a little bit more patient, but instead tried to predict where Keegs was going, and it led to them probably dropping a kill, or at least a forced ultimate.
Yeah, I think that was at least the ultimate. Probably even the kill, depending on how the abilities change together.
So not only that, but he also takes another wave from Despair, and you can see this gold lead is just getting bigger and bigger for Keegs. He's got a 500 gold lead now, and a full level and a half, possibly even 2. So they need to. It's tough, right? This is one of those tough instances where you want to help your ADC or your hunter. You want to make sure that you're ganking this Freya, but you also don't want to take any more waves from him because he's already behind.
Yeah, they're going to catch up to level 9. You can see the Khepri coming over the top. So Chapo, a little bit of aggression, but nothing too hardcore. As Hugbug has joined the fray one more time. Vulcan will head back to base, and that'll finish those booties up for himself. 50 stacks on the Doom Orb, plus boots to the Mad Guy. That's going to be trouble. Very big trouble.
He's going to hurt a lot right now, and this is the surprise factor. Whenever you back and get a full item like that, going from no boots to full boots, you get hit by a backfire, and you're saying to yourself, how did that do so much damage? I wasn't expecting that. And that's the factor of surprise is pretty important in Smite. So we'll see if eLevate wants to push it right now. They could force a Gold Fury, 3 members back from SoaR, but it looks like they're not in position. Rippin back in base, and the ward coverage still kind of up in the air on that Gold Fury end.
Yeah, if eLevate go for the Gold Fury, they've got to keep an eye on Chapo, who does have the Wrath available. And even with the Doom Orb and Boots of the Magi available for the Vulcan, that Wrath is still very much a threat.
You're not going to be doing 1,200 burst damage yet, so you have to be very wary of that Wrath and Thor ult combination. But as long as you ward well enough, you should be able to see where he is on the map. You have to be able to see, he has to be at least in the middle lane to reach the Gold Fury. And if you drop a ward, much like SoaR has done right in front of your opposing tower, you can see where they are whenever they walk in from the jungle. So we'll see if eLevate elects to drop a regular ward in lane, but that just one 50 gold ward that never gets countered. You're never going to blow 150 gold on a lane ward, usually, at least in the early game. It gives you so much information.
I'd like to see eLevate go ahead and invade on the speed buff. I think if eLevate go and invade the enemy speed buff, right, just full out force it out. You've only got a 1,000 gold lead, so you're not exactly, being able to bully anybody real quick. But if you go ahead and invade on the speed buff, you can force Chapo to use his Wrath. Even if you don't get the speed buff, you half commit, right? You go and you show up, you play it really safe, and you just force the Wrath of the Chapo. Right here, just a little bit too far. Try to go ahead and proxy farm and just spent far too much time behind enemy lines. Niqued going to trade his life there. Spare pops to rewind, and he's surrounded, and another knockup. It's 4-on-1 here, folks. Chronos doesn't have any more buttons to press, and KeegsMate earns his first kill of the game.
That's the trade you make. You're going to gank the proxy farming soil laner. We're going to kill your vulnerable ADC, forcing out the ultimate, the purification, and ultimately the kill. But look at Stormy's positioning here. He wants to go aggressive, but just 3 members. Now he's kind of caught out.
Yeah, he'll get pulled a little bit. Keep in mind, a lot of the ultimates down for the count on the side of eLevate, specifically the Jumpahhh. That's what I'm talking about. That's the large ultimate that was used to find the last kill, and the one that would have found the kill on a Stormy, in all honesty. But luckily for him, his teammate took it.
Nice job by Stormy being patient and not using his relic there. It's easy to panic and press the purification as soon as you get Khepri pulled, because that abduct lasts for so long. But knowing that Truancii had just used abilities to clear the wave and that Jumpahhh had used his abilities to get to him to catch up, he wasn't in any real danger. Holding that purification, being patient, and then just thunder crashing away shows me that Stormy is already getting more comfortable on these squishy gods. Like you mentioned, he is a solo laner, he's a guardian, he played these tanky, in-your-face gods, and whenever you make that transition, it's easy to say, man, I just got exploded from nothing. It's, wow, there's a little bit of you feel bad for the mages that you dove under tier 1 tower, maybe. He probably does.
I don't think so.
He killed me plenty diving under my tower, but maybe he feels a little bit bad for me.
Yeah, that's one of the harsher transitions. So I was going to say the same thing. Just watching Stormy play here, You're able to really see the struggle and the transition. eLevate, gonna pull the Gold Fury right about now. Lots of damage coming out, 50% already on the objective. But eLevate will go ahead and leash it once Bruachacho shows up.
Uzzy using his teleport to get into the backline there, immediately having to Ox form away. Chapo had good patience there, didn't want to burn the ultimate, knowing that they wouldn't commit with him there, even if he didn't go up into the ultimate.
There's grip onto Uzzy. He should be fine in all honesty, despite being surrounded. He's a tanky son Wukong. You can see a little bit of health, a little bit of CDR as well.
That being said, he has no sustain in this kit without using the ultimate, and he just used his teleport and then took half his health for nothing. I mean, no one else was near him on the side of SoaR, so now he's going to have to back again. And look, Niqued has that teleport available. He can afford to be over here on this Gold Fury, while Uzzy is rotating back to the right side, as well as Chapo. Chapo needs to be careful that he doesn't get spotted out here, because this is a free Gold Fury for eLevate.
Yeah, Chapo's going to get spotted here. No way for Chapo to come onto the other side of the map. Stormy going to get pushed around, and Gold Fury very low, 15%, going to get leashed. As Bacchus shows up, eLevate don't want to give it up for free. Gold Fury still being aggressed, re-pulled. Niqued gets a kill, and Gold Fury goes the way of eLevate. Despite Bruachacho's best efforts, Chapo able to get a tier 1 tower on the right side, still pushing as well. KeegsMate gonna have the Khepri ultimate waited out. Uzzy trying to find the kill, can't, and he will die himself. Everybody on eLevate collapsing on the King of the Monkeys, and down he falls. Chapo greeted at a tier 2 tower.
Just not enough damage from Uzzy to secure the kill onto Keegs. Did force both relics and the Khepri ultimate, but at the end of the day, you're falling and you're giving Keegs more gold in his pocket for the assist or kill. Plus, the Gold Fury, I'm just so perplexed by the decision from Chapo to split push the right side, knowing everyone was on the left by the Gold Fury. He had the Wrath. He has to be there. He's got to be the one disputing that Gold Fury. And once eLevate saw him split pushing that tier 1 tower on the right-hand side, it was free.
Yeah, just a very curious choice there. When I saw him on the right side, I assumed that he had teleport. It seemed like a very strange play.
Yeah, I checked for it as well. Elect gonna go for the Sanctuary. Gonna be interesting to see how eLevate is going to react to that Sanctuary pickup, because if they recognize that and say, okay, if we get a tier Fearless, if we get a Khepri Abduct, a Root, anything really, we can kill Chapo before he gets his Sanctuary off. I mean, a Fearless into an Abduct is so long to be CC'd and have no access to any of your abilities or relics. So we'll see if Chapo wants to play a little bit more cautious, though that doesn't sound very Chapo-like.
That doesn't sound Chapo-like at all. Going for the ultimate, gonna miss it. Going for the stun, gonna miss it. Going for the double tap, gonna miss it. Going for the Berserker's Barrage, going to miss it. Not a strong play out of Chapo.
He got like 2 ticks on that Berserker's Barrage.
Not sure about that.
That's worth using your entire kit for 86 damage.
A little bit rough there for Chapo. He's had a troublesome mid game. Started off the game really hot, able to find a quick kill early on, and then a follow-up as well, only suffering a single death. But things have really plateaued here for the mid game. He hasn't really been able to make a spot, hasn't been able to really make a play here just yet.
No, but he is farming really, really well. Look at that gold worth that he has. Highest in the game right now, 8,600, level 15, right underneath Niqued on the side of eLevate. So if he can find a way to transition this gold lead that he has into the items, we see he's already completed the Jotun's Wrath, where Jumpahh's still sitting 2 levels down, only sitting on the heavy mace. He could make a big difference with this extra item, but now's the time to do it.
You've got to find the opportunity, and where is that opportunity available? Teams are starting to hang out on the right side of the map, though. I think it's a little bit early to start calling Gold Fury just yet. Or Fire Giant, excuse me.
Yes, the Fire Giant, not what you want to be looking at right now. He's got to be looking at Keegs, already level 16. He's actually ahead of Chapo as well, so I would like to see him head over here, but at the same time,
look at Despair. Just watch Despair. He takes the battle to KeegsMate straight up, 100 to 25, and then Bruachacho comes in just to secure it. But Despair, I think, left to his own devices, still would have found that kill. Big dive onto Stormy. Not going to be fruitful thanks to a good Sanctuary out of the mage player.
Keegs just way too far pushed up on that dual lane, pushing a tier 2 tower at 17 minutes as Freya. not your best option.
It doesn't even matter the positioning, honestly, aggro. That 1v1, he was toast. He activated, we watched 2 separate activations of Pulse Irradiate. He was unable to even think about touching Despair, who was able to still find the basics and the time rift. Tier 1 tower being aggressed on here. Counterattack coming out of SoaR. Nice stun onto the Khepri. And still looking for a little bit more. There's a double fearless, and the combination out of Truancii gonna be large, but the ultimate out of the other mage still going to have an impact. Raijin can't find it just yet. Uzzy going deep. Unable to really make it happen thanks to a nice Khepri ultimate.
Uzzy just a little bit too early, jumping down from that somersault cloud, looking to clean up Truancii, but like you mentioned, the Scarab's Blessing still active onto him. So instead of dying and losing 25 Doom Orb stacks, he gets revived, doesn't lose any stacks, and that's a great play from Rippin. We see why he prioritizes that god so much.
StormyRays, fearless. No power cleave just yet. Likely would have died, but with Khepri here, that's a root. Beautiful. Whoop to help him out, actually. I think he owes KeegsMate a little bit of a high five.
I mean, they used to be in the duo lane together, you know? Maybe Keegs felt bad for him. He was like, hey, man, I don't want you to get dunked on like that.
It was one of those, you know, I called it beautiful because it saved his life for the moment.
What a nice guy Keegs is.
So nice. Is he really a nice guy?
Yeah, he's all right.
He's all right?
Yeah.
I don't know him that well.
I like Keegs. He's a younger player,
right.
like 15 or something like that. And so still has some immaturity battles, I would say. But overall, I mean, his play speaks for itself. He's an excellent ADC, definitely one of the premier players in the SCL today. And as he continues to gain some maturity and gain some experience in the SCL, he's definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with. And you can see eLevate is kind of like Keegs and a bunch of new guys, right? Truancii, Rippin holes, Jumpahhh, and Niqued was in the SCL last split, but all the other guys were on the outside looking in, and it's really been Keegs and Niqued being the 2 leaders of this squad, at least on paper.
Yeah, and it seems to have been working out. eLevate looking pretty strong, specifically in this game, finding themselves up about 3,000 gold, more like 2,500, but still 4 kills above their opposition, 7-3, as we're approaching our 20th minute. So eLevate certainly have things working for them themselves, and despite the fact that it really was SoaR that started this game off quickly. Like we said before, Chapo able to make an impact in the early game, but as we've transitioned into the mid, we're seeing more out of Jumpahhh. 5 out of 7 kills involved him, so a lot of presence coming out of eLevate.
That being said, Chapo's still a little bit up in gold despite the overall gold difference on top of Jumpahhh. So Jumpahhh just kind of maybe not being as selfish with his farm as Chapo is, but definitely facilitating the team fights very, very well for eLevate. And it all kind of went wrong for SoaR in that middle lane engagement and then the Gold Fury.
Mid lane right now, looking for another engagement. Nice stun, and there's a double tap into the Berserker's Barrage, but more damage coming out of Stormy again. Just trying to find a couple of hits. Not gonna find a kill.
That's the problem when you're going up against Khepri. And maybe Khepri had a long time being the top Guardian in Smite, right? And then all of a sudden, he's kind of fallen out of favor. But this is the problem when you go up against Khepri. Hold that thought, Niqued gonna go in deep. Everyone's looking at Chapo.
And the ultimate out of the Freya gonna bring Chapo down very low. Sanctuary will be activated. Chapo finds the hole and gets over the wall onto the tower to safety. Damage still coming out onto Stormy, able to Thunder Crash away, still being chased out by the solo lane, but Truancii able to deal with Despair on the backside. 3 players surrounded Brochacho. Down he falls. That's the 2nd kill for KeegsMate. And Chapo comes back out of the base, but a little bit too late. P.S. The king of the monkeys, Uzzy, on the right-hand side, pushing down a tier 2 tower. eLevate looking at a tier 2 themselves, but Uzzy can look for a Phoenix. He's attacking it. It's very slow. The Sun Wukong, not exactly numero uno when it comes to killing out those Phoenixes, and he's going to run into some trouble as Susano will head back to base.
Surprised to see him full commit to the Phoenix here with that teleport available. Gold Fury now up for eLevate, and Uzzy is not going to be able to teleport because Susano has backed. He needed it back a lot earlier. Chapo way too late going up into the air. Didn't have the Wrath available anyways, but now he's going to use the ultimate to try and peel for Stormy.
And Stormy still in some trouble, and with both ultimate and wall missing, going to be a little bit more troublesome than Chapo might have anticipated. Looking for a little bit of damage once his cooldowns come up. There's the double tap available, but the heal from Tier deters the aggression coming out from Chapo, and he'll find himself back in the jungle.
So before that whole engagement broke out, I was starting to talk about why Khepri is so difficult to play against, and it's because when you've got high priority targets like a Vulcan, like a Freya, gods that you want to 100 to 0, you simply can't when Khepri's there. He's going to be the one protecting them with that ultimate. If you burn 2 to 3 ults and have them all be negated by Khepri ult, especially if they're able to save their relics, the player being revived, it is just such a big tempo swing. It's like you're playing Hearthstone and you use one card, you flame strike an opponent's entire board. I mean, it just swings the game so heavily. An entire fight goes horribly wrong that was looking good from one Scarab's Blessing. And Rippin is doing a great job of staying far enough back that he can throw that Scarab's Blessing onto the priority targets without being CC'd. Whenever Khepri was that top-end pick, we saw a lot of characters like Athena or gods that can get in Khepri's face and make it difficult for him to find that ultimate on the priority targets. But Rippin's doing a nice job of spacing himself, almost like a fighting game, spacing himself away from these abilities. Even though you're the support, you need to be in the back as Khepri because you need to be protecting your other backline characters. He's not a lot like a Bacchus or a Ymir or something like that. It's a completely different playstyle.
He's kind of the antithesis of that playstyle. He's a true support. Trouble for Uzzy on the right side. Gonna get pulled, gonna get knocked up. He'll find a way out for the moment, but another one goes directly into the back of the head before Uzzy's able to activate the ultimate, and down he goes for kill number 10.
And that's another combo that we haven't really talked about is the Khepri Vulcan combination is really, really potent because you are CC'd for so long and you don't have purification on a character like Sun Wukong or even Thor or Bacchus in this matchup. You can just lay down that turret, paint them with the backfire, and you're going to get 4 to 5 free turret shots, and that is going to kill almost anyone. We saw Uzzy level 19 just gets melted by Truancii.
Just a ton of damage on this Bacchus, still level 50 on that Doom Orb, but unable to really be killed just yet from the guys on SoaR. Trouble for Jumpahhh, he'll be able to find a way out.
Niqued just zoning out everyone. It looks like in the middle lane, Despair and Keegs are going to be going at it. Keegs with a 2-level advantage does trade out the ultimates though.
And that's going to put Despair in a bad spot. Half HP, even lower. Sanctuary for the moment. And the
nice
Fearless
wall.
is caught by Chapo. Well done by the jungler to support his teammate. Trouble for Stormy, however, no wall available now. Mid laner just barely gets out of trouble thanks to the Thunder Crash.
Vulcan just using his ultimate perfectly there. Against Raijin, we've seen it a lot because these are the 2 meta gods in the middle lane right now. Saving Earthshaker for that Raijin ultimate is huge.
Nice stun. And Trouble on the side of Niqued, but he's able to heal himself and dash away and join his teammates who are hanging out on the right side of the map looking to make a push onto a Phoenix perhaps. But eLevate instead will go ahead and retreat into the jungle.
This late game composition for eLevate is just really, really strong right now, and SoaR's having a tough time dealing with how much damage they have available to them. You've got Freya, who once we get to 24, 25 minutes, it becomes an instant issue, and Vulcan as well. He's had a great game so far, 4-0-3. Not as high on the player damage charts as you would think, but he's doing effective damage. There's not a whole lot of poke there,
for sure,
which is what you want out of Vulcan most of the time, but Truancii's making his ults count, he's making his turret placements count, and he's working well with the team. And most importantly, he hasn't died. Vulcan can become food for the enemy team very easily, and preventing that, making sure that you're staying safe on Vulcan is a definite sign for eLevate that they're in a good spot.
It was a short laning phase, in all honesty, in the mid lane, which I think attributes a little bit of truth to the lack of damage out of the Vulcan. Not a lot of that poke was able to come because that laning phase was just sort of cut short. All of a sudden, everybody was really rotating in the jungle, and that's where we saw a lot of the mid-game head. Not a lot of mid-lane action, to be honest.
And a lot of that group up was forced by SoaR. That was Chapo and Brochacho trying to find fights in the jungle because they recognized the late game potential from eLevate is really strong, and you don't want to let them get there for free. But it ended up backfiring because they weren't able to get enough farm to punish these poor early game gods. And you can see Raijin sitting at 5,000 damage at 26 minutes. That's not what you want. He's 0-0-0, hasn't been a part of any of the 3 kills, and hasn't really put out any relevant damage thus far.
eLevate going to start the Fire Giant. That's certainly relevant. You've got Freya on the left side of the map trying to distract players, but SoaR going to show up not too distracted. Niqued trying to bait everybody into coming into this corridor as the players from eLevate have since dropped the Fire Giant. Looking to play a cheeky move and look for the gank. You
can play some awesome mind games with Vulcan turret on Fire Giant, by the way, because whenever you're going in, you're looking to see if the other team's doing Fire Giant by the particles.
Right.
And if you lay down that turret, it makes you think they're committing to the Fire Giant, when really they could be sitting around the corner waiting for you.
So it's got to be very careful. Is it a decoy? Is it not?
That's the fun stuff.
That is the fun stuff.
I love little interactions like that make you, you know, oh man, they're on the fire giant. Oh wait, it's just a Vulcan turret. They all are here to kill us instead.
Despair sinks out the damage from the Freya real quick, but one shot! KeegsMate able to just find the shots that matter and take down Despair this time around. Freya's going to keep pushing on the left-hand side. eLevate now getting aggressive. Ultimate out of Niqued, trying to find it. Fearless into the power cleave. Chapo traps his own teammate. Forces Stormy into the ultimate, but it'll be the turnaround kill. Jumpahhh goes down. Stormy gets killed by the support. There's the Khepri ultimate use on top, and already finding the hit. Chapo gets a spin to win and takes down Truancii. Belly flop on top of the Khepri, and the damage again going the other direction. Uzzy's got to be careful. It's a 3-on-3.
But Keegs is here, and he's the problem. Uzzy immediately trying to knock him up and force him out. And that was a great job by Stormy, staying alive for so long, perfectly timing that Sanctuary. Just barely mistimed the Vulcan ult did Truancii, hit Stormy while he was still Sanctuaried, and then able to get up into that ultimate, pound Jumpahhh with the shots, and that was the difference maker.
Rough stuff coming out. Chapo walling his own teammate into trouble, forcing the ultimate out of Stormy. Kind of bad.
He was dead either way. He didn't have his Thunder Crash available. He'd already used it to get away, and it kind of grouped everyone up. Because Stormy's Aegis lasted so long, he was able to live long enough, and then everyone's grouped up on top of him because of that wall from Chapo. So it could have been really bad, and it probably should have been really bad. But somehow, a little bit of luck pays off for SoaR, and Stormy's able to survive long enough to finally put out some relevant damage. Look, he just did 50% of the damage he's done all game in one fight.
Yeah, and that's the power of late game Vulcan. You can see the Doom Orb now, even though it's at 25 stacks, forwards at 50, he'll be able to work that way up. He's at the Doom Orb, into the boots, straight penetration. Love this Pythagoras piece before the rod, by the way.
Finally, please, build more Pythagoras piece. It's really good. Even Stormy should probably have bought a Pythagoras piece instead of the Pythagoras, or instead of the Bancrofts, because he has the Bacchus, and that's relevant damage you're adding to your Bacchus.
Absolutely.
30 power is nothing to shake a stick at, and that is, you also get cooldown on top of it. You're only sacrificing, what, 10 power at base? Yeah, you lose some whenever you lose your health, but overall, I think Pythagoras is definitely a piece that we should be seeing more often out of mid laners.
You know, it's troublesome for me seeing Chapo so often just not near these objectives. He's got the Wrath. We haven't seen it used pretty much at all.
Not really, but Rippin forced to use his dash right away. Niqued's gonna come over the top with the Lawbringer, but Chapo's up in the air, and it looks like he's looking for Keegs.
And it's gonna be off the mark. Keegs directly into the ultimate, so he did get something for the Thor ult. There's the Susano just tearing through. Stormy gonna find an exit for now, but the follow-up damage out of Jumpahhh after the dash. Down goes Brochacho as well. Despair on the flank, finds a stun and a ton of damage, but Uzzy in a lot of trouble. So much so that he's gonna drop. Truancii gets credit for it. 6-1-5 for the mid lane Vulcan, and down falls the Phoenix with not a soul in sight to play defense.
Despair the only one up with Chapo. Chapo gonna go in against 5, looking to pick off the low health Jumpahhh, but now he's gonna be whooped, and he's gonna die here. Even with this Sanctuary, he's got nowhere to go.
Yeah, the grab and the follow-up damage. Mid-hammer throw, Truancii finds another kill. Left side Phoenix gonna drop 30, 50, 17, and 7 on the 4 players on the side of SoaR Gaming. eLevate hesitate, so they'll have to retreat. If eLevate right there, if eLevate rush right then and there, they've got a shot. Stormy will res, you'll have Brochacho and Despair to deal with. Despair's a really big deal. But if they're able to fight in right then and there, I think they have a shot. But that slight hesitation, the single hesitation coming on the left side Phoenix, makes it not an option.
It was the right call to back up. It would have been cool to see them go for the end, but it was definitely the safer, and in my opinion, the correct call
for sure
to back up and not go, because this is a free fire giant now. You've got a 4v5 power play, and you don't have the Wrath available for Chapo. Even when he respawns, he used it to try and get out there. So as you can see, eLevate immediately going to this fire giant, trying to get it before Chapo's up, and Niqued just looking to zone out, already at 50%.
Love this call coming out from eLevate. They're standing tall, over 13,000 gold. They're able to sneak the fire giant right out from underneath SoaR. As he shows up, not much he can do about it. And eLevate gonna group up and just look for something.
They've got to look for this last Phoenix on the right-hand side. Despair looking to pick up the red buff, and it looks like he'll be okay because eLevate doesn't look like they want to just rush it down, but he's got to be back in time for this Fire Giant defense. He's level 20 now, has the Rod of Tahuti. Stormy still doesn't have his, still only level 19. Despair's got to be the one here defending because they need his damage badly.
Nice double tap out of Chapo onto the Jumpahhh. And I agree. Despair certainly the guy that you got to start looking at. He says, pick it. I'll get there at 25. It's 31. Time for him to make an impact. Chapo goes up. Chapo comes down. Nice stun. Completely turns around. Looking to separate one target from the team. Niqued in some trouble, but only about 60% HP. Despair follows himself. There's the ultimate, and Stormy just gets ulted by the Vulcan.
Stormy just can't ult. He's just been waiting.
Nope.
Truancii just waits for his ult and then uses it. Stormy's got to cancel it and use the Sanctuary or just wait out the Vulcan ult. Now Jumpahhh gonna get a huge wind siphon, pulling back too, gonna get out, but pretty low. But this should open up the game for eLevate. Oh, the whole time, Winion's just smacking that Phoenix. eLevate is playing the distraction game on that right side.
Doesn't even need to go ahead and jump into the throne room. eLevate able to take game number 1 just with the minions alone. Good call, good plays, good strategy coming out from the guys on ELV.
And you saw the patience from eLevate there. As soon as Chapo goes up into the sky, they back up, knowing that Chapo either has to A, commit to the fight and probably die, or B, defend his Titan. He chose option A, didn't die, but didn't defend the Titan from the minions, and they did it all themselves.
And that, unfortunately, you know, coming from a guy that I've enjoyed watching SoaRChapo play, this game was really rough for Chapo. And maybe not so much for his slash shot. He looked fine. Right? All the stats come out looking positive. But when it comes down to it, a lot of times on the wrong side of the map, not playing, I talk a lot about playing your character. You've also got to play your build when you have Wrath. And he played Thor really well, but he didn't play Wrath well at all. And that's why we saw Gold Furies go down, that kind of shouldn't have. A couple of objectives that could have been contested that weren't. The only time I saw the Wrath being used positively was on the end. It was on Elevate's invade on the red buff around 9 minutes. That's when we saw Chapo go ahead and use the Wrath, and he secured his own red buff. Besides that, didn't really see much of it, and that's an issue.
Relics are really high impact. No matter what relic you choose, you have to make sure that you're using it to maximum efficiency, whether it be Purification or Sanctuary to make yourself live, Shell, Sprint, Curse, whatever it is to augment your team fight. If you're using Wrath, you need to be using it on cooldown, using it for stuns, using it for buff invades, but most importantly, objective secures. And like you said, Chapo just being on the right side gets a free Gold Fury for eLevate that accelerates their late game to be even closer, and that's not what you want to see against a Vulcan and a Freya. So we'll see what relic choice he wants to go for this time, but you had it right on the nail. If he goes Wrath, he needs to do a better job of utilizing it.
We'll see if